When the world gets weird and the bills get thick, you call on Clint and you feature Dick. One talks numbers, the other talks slick. Two dads, one mic, yeah, this could stick. Clint's crunching figures straight to the point. Dick's just here to laugh in the joint. It's the Clinterific Show, featuring Dick. Dick's quick with a joke, Clint's got the math. Together they'll balance your checkbook and your laugh. They'll talk finance, fun, and fatherly fails, with liquidity dreams and 401k tales. So grab your coffee, join us a ticket, the Clinterific Show, featuring Dick.
The whole 9 yards.
Oh man,
all of the Dick.
Yeah. Like there's a little bit of Dick, a lot of Dick, and then 2 times as much Dick, and eventually we're gonna get there. Okay.
And eventually you end up sore and can't walk.
Exactly.
What are we talking about today?
Yeah. So speaking of what are we talking about today? We're gonna talk.
Start recording?
Yes. So.
Oh, by the way, we're recording.
Yeah, so bullet points for today. Yeah, welcome to the Clinterific Show featuring Dick. Just the right amount of Dick today, but maybe in the future we'll do double Dick or
who knows? Maybe even the triple. Wow.
Oh, the triple. Yeah. So yeah, this week we're going to keep it light and fluffy from the financial side, but also. It's maybe it'll tie in a little bit with our going deep segment because we're going to talk about the financial stress and ways to deal with that. So yeah, I know for me as a father that financial stress can be at the forefront of my thoughts and figuring out a way to deal with those in a good way, in a healthy way, is definitely important. So hopefully we're going to be able to give you some tips on how to keep yourself mentally and financially healthy at the same time. And then this segue segment that we're going to do this week is we're going to do a deep dive into microtransactions in the video game industry, because those have a lot of people do, and I'm the first to admit that I hate them, but I'm also guilty of getting a little bit addicted to them in certain games. So
are you a whale?
I don't know if I've ever really been a whale. I think a couple games that I've played, I may have been kind of dabbling in the dolphin area. But that term.
We'll explain what this means.
Yeah,
later.
we'll dive into those a little bit more when we get into that segment, and then after that, we're gonna wrap things up with our going deep with Dick, and hopefully we'll have some laughs along the way. So
absolutely.
So yeah, Dick, are you somebody who would classify themselves as a somebody who stresses out a lot about their finances, or is that something that's
absolutely not?
So you're one of the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I am. So obviously, I know it's important, and as a father, a parent, a husband, it'll stress me out, worrying about keeping my job. But as far as having enough money, I am really bad about it. My wife, when we got married, she asked if she could do the finances, and I was like, yeah, that's cool.
Hey,
yeah,
go ahead. You want to fall on that sword? Go ahead.
I was thinking of it from I don't have to deal with it.
Great,
because I hate dealing with it.
Yep.
But sometimes I regret it because that stress load's on her, and she's the one that really stresses about money, obviously, because she wanted to do finances. And anyway, we won't get into the Dr. Phil part of that. Well, anyway, no, I'm not the one that worries about it. Really.
Yeah. So and it's amazing how it seems like there's always a polar opposite getting married.
Right.
Like because I'm the stressed out about the money stuff.
Yeah.
Which it's actually kind of fascinating, and I don't know about you, but this is an interesting, I don't know I guess you could call it phenomenon in me and Anna's relationship, is that she seems to have more faith that, we will have things provided in the financial arena, but when it comes to things like big picture stuff, that's me.
Yeah.
But she's like, "Oh yeah, no, it's okay. We can go to Taco Bell tonight. It's not a big deal. We only have $4 in our bank account. Don't worry about it." Like what?
That's why God created credit cards, Clint.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to finance the Taco Bell. You pay 25 to 30% more depending on your credit card. Hey, look,
it's just money. Like, who cares?
If this new bill that our fearless leader is thinking about pushing through goes through, I think it's going to cap out at like 10%, which would be awesome.
Oh yeah, I did see I saw a headline about that. Might have just been like a YouTube title. Like, are you serious? Like putting a cap on credit card interest at 10%?
That's what's been discussed. I don't know how much traction the bill has in any capacity or anything like that, but yeah, 10% would be huge from a a personal finance perspective.
Can I ask a question about that though?
Yeah.
Like, is that just straight across the board, period, no matter what, 10%, or is it like, is there exceptions, or is it 10% for? Because you know what I mean. Like, there's always some of that language. Like, we hear 10%, everyone's like, yeah, 10%. And it's like, well, no, it's 10% on the first like $50,000.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
to be perfectly honest, I don't know the specifics of how they're pitching it. I know the title is 10% across the board, but that doesn't always end up being what it is, because I'm actually just finding out about this recently. So we have obviously it's tax season for us. We're doing 1099s and W-2 forms and stuff like that. And one of the things that we just found out this year is they are reformatting how W-2s get processed because of the no tax on tips and overtime wages. So if I'm telling you that as a phrase, if I'm saying you don't get taxed on overtime, in your mind you think, okay, so my paycheck is, let's say for the sake of an example, that your paycheck is 50 hours at $20 an hour.
Sure.
So you think, okay, well, the normal regular work week is 40 hours. Then you have 10 hours of overtime. So you've got $800 of income from your $20 an hour base.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got 10 hours of time and a half. Well, time and a half means you're at $30 an hour. So most people would think, okay, well, 30 times the 10 is 300. So I'm not paying any tax on that $300. That's not it at all. You're not paying taxes on the overtime rate for your wages. So the increase.
Hang on a second.
So basically, you're getting 50 hours at $20 an hour.
Oh.
And that extra $100 is not being taxed.
So hang on a second. You're still getting taxed on the $20 an hour you make on those 10 hours of overtime.
Exactly.
But not the $10 an hour.
Exactly.
Your overtime rate.
Mm-hmm. So it really is literally not being taxed on overtime wages, which there's the $20 an hour, which is your regular wages, and then the $10 for that time and a half, that is your overtime wages. That's what you're not being taxed on.
Yeah, I can see why most people would think that when they hear that no tax on overtime, that they're going to think, oh, any of the time that I work over 40 hours won't be taxed at all.
Right.
And when you hear that explain it, like, okay, that does make sense as well. And I don't know if it's like an intentional obfuscation or if it was a compromise to get it to pass in the first place, because
it may have been a little bit of both. But the reality of the situation
why would
is
our government lie to us?
Yeah, yeah, they're batting 1,000 with honesty. I believe that with all of my well-being. Anyway, so yeah, just kind of a bullet point. Yeah, exactly. Just a bullet point for those of you out there are taking things into consideration for your taxes this year. Your W-2 will look different. You're going to have a secondary form that comes along with the standard W-2 that's going to have a breakdown of those extra items on it if you do have overtime wages. If you don't have overtime, it's not going to affect you at all. But if you do, it's going to be a addendum form that comes with your W-2 to track those wages. Because the other thing that a lot of people didn't take into consideration is while those overtime wages are not taxed at the federal level, you may be having to pay taxes on them at the state level.
At a state level, right?
Exactly. So that information still has to be reported.
Leave a comment if you'd like for Clint to go a little more in depth on the new federal tax changes this year.
Yeah,
as we're getting close to the tax season.
Exactly. So yeah, which obviously taxes are a stressful time, so that leads us right into our let's figure out ways to not be so stressed out, which may impact me more than it would impact somebody like Mr. Dick over here.
I'm just sticking around,
exactly.
That's all I do.
So really there's just a handful of bullet points. The gist of the thing is financial stress is one of the leading causes of stress in any household, especially for the money person in the relationship, so to speak. The National Health Interview Survey did an interview with over 22,000 U.S. adults and found that higher levels of financial worries are significantly associated with higher psychological distress. So the more you let yourself be stressed out, the more finances will stress you out if you have other sources of stress, I guess, is the way that I'm understanding that. And this relationship was stronger for people with lower income, especially those that were unemployed and that were renting. So, if that's the umbrellas that you're falling under, it's likely that that's going to be a higher cause of stress. Which, right. That's one of those things, like from a perspective of, does correlation necessarily equal causation? Obviously, if you're renting, statistics, or if you're unemployed especially, yeah, money's going to be stressful because you don't know where it's coming from. Whereas, if you have a job and you're being paid any level of consistency, it's less stressful to worry about where your money is coming from because you arguably already know where it's coming from. So yeah, that's just something to kind of keep in mind. Be aware of where you're at in your life and, where all of your sources of stress are coming from. And that's going to help you keep less stressed about your finances and things like that.
So that study was saying that if you're already stressed out, money stresses you out more. Is that kind of what I was saying?
The way that it is phrased is a national health survey showed that people with greater financial worries have significantly higher levels of psychological stress, especially among lower income and unemployed groups.
Okay. Well,
I feel like that's a little bit of a redundant statement.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like this just in, water is wet.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like we were talking about, when we were talking about pizza a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Americans just stopped eating pizza all of a sudden. No, they just want to eat something that's affordable, you know, or something that's good. You can't have both, No
one wants to take out a second mortgage for groceries.
Exactly. So,
why aren't you buying our expensive pizza?
Right. So, the number one point to kind of keep in mind when you're reviewing your finances and how that stress can affect you is it can turn into health problems. Chronic stress tends to keep your body in a fight or flight phase. And anybody who's been in that phase for a long time, it will eat you alive. It is a poison. I have had conversations with many people who they tell me that they're in a huge level of financial stress, and then immediately tell me that I've got this health issue and this health issue and this health issue. I can't see out of this eye, and I just had a stroke, and it's like, oh, okay, well, no wonder you're stressing out, because then you look at their financial situation. I'm like, no wonder you're stressed out. Like you've got a laundry list of stress situations that you've arguably created for yourself. But some people just, can't step back long enough to take a look at it and really evaluate things and say, oh, hey, I'm stressing myself out here for this, and this is a very easy solve. Just eat out less. Let's start cooking at home more, or let's not pay for a brand new car. Let's get something that's used and cut our driving our vehicle bill in half, something like that. And so because you're in a state of fight or flight a lot, your cortisol levels stay elevated, which I mean, this, especially from somebody who wants to exercise and work out. Cortisol is the enemy of a six-pack, so to speak. If you want to start getting in shape and getting healthier, cortisol is going to keep your midsection very soggy.
It's not my only enemy for my six-pack, let's be honest.
Well, look, like, what's
my wife made another batch of ginger snaps this weekend.
Yep, that's cortisol and ginger snaps. Those are the two biggest enemies of Dick's six-pack.
Well, and some of those little Debbies. I tell you though, I know what it is that my wife doesn't want me to look smoking hot. She's trying to, keep me to herself.
Yep. You got to tie that down. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Not
that I'm the type that's gonna, you know what I mean, but like.
Yeah. Yep. You're such a dreamboat, Dick.
I know, right?
Such a great big.
I take a stick with me everywhere. Beat him up. Get back.
Oh man, but so the cortisol levels, what that leads to is decision-making abilities getting worse, and which that in and of itself is going to start magnifying your problem, because you've already started out this cycle by making bad decisions. Now you're making more bad decisions because you're stressed out all the time because of the bad decisions that you made before. And
it's compounding.
Exactly. So, we've talked about compounding interest. One of the best ways to compound interest is to make a good decision early, and then you don't have to reap the punishment for it for the next year. And so inevitably that leads to small problems feeling overwhelming. So there's a handful of different things to kind of look for when you're trying to evaluate if this is a huge stress point in your life. So these are just some examples, but obviously this is not an exhaustive list. Your situation is going to change wildly compared to this list. So, these are just kind of some broad spectrum, bullet points to kind of look at. So if you find yourself avoiding bills, if they're piling up on the kitchen table, okay, like as soon as you start avoiding, there's a problem already started. When you snap at the family, which I will be the first to admit that, you know me, I'm loud. I can get stressed out and snap. So it's something that I'm sure I will be working on till the day I die. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I would like to say that my best way of referring to myself is kind of like a pressure cooker. The stuff starts building up inside, and eventually it's going to start forcing its way out somewhere. And for some reason, that just seems to be my incredibly loud and obnoxious voice. So, so yeah, got to work on that. But
it's part of what makes you so endearing.
I really do hope so, because
I mean, it kind of has to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just be an.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So snapping at your family, procrastinating important financial decisions. If it gets to a point where you're trying to make a decision and all you're doing is getting stuck in the what I like to call, and I'm sure this is a very common phrase, analysis paralysis. Okay, I'm gonna think about this a little bit longer. Well, you're really just pushing the problem down the road. Eventually, you're gonna have to make a decision, and most of the time, the difference between decision A and B is so minimal that is it really going to change that much if you just go ahead and pull the trigger on one? Unless it's buying a house right now. And that's obviously a significant decision. But, I mean, it's not permanent. Yeah, you buy a house and it's not the house that you wanted. You're going to have issues with it, whatever. I mean, just sell it. I realize that sounds incredibly reductive, but the reality is
right.
If you get yourself in a problem like that, there's not a no way out for you. You just got to figure out what the way is. So...
But Clint, we moved into this house and we're going to stay here until our kids come home with their grandkids for Christmas.
And this could be, I don't know if you want to call it a hot take, but I've never really had like the sentimental connection to certain things like a house, because we ended up buying my parents' house, lived there for about, we just moved out in July, I think it was, of 2025. So we lived there for about 5 years, give or take about an 8-month stretch where we were having the house remodeled. But in the entire time that I lived there, it was the house that I grew up in. My parents bought that house in like 96 or something like that. And it had been basically my home since. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what they paid, but I think it was like $78,000, and it was a 2,000 square foot house. Like,
it's a whole nother that's a whole nother conversation, and I don't want to open that can right now.
Oh man, yeah. You can't get some cars for that price now, and so yeah, but yeah, I've never really had that like super sentimental connection to inanimate objects and stuff like that. Like, I've got a couple things like, oh yeah, that like I want to have this, but nothing to the extent of like this has to be taken care of and go with me everywhere I go. But I don't know, I'm weird like that.
Speaking of attachments to sentimental objects, I got something right here that I bet you could get attached to.
Go on.
We're talking about we can talk about good or bad financial decisions, right?
Okay.
I was at Kohl's the other day.
Oh.
And they still have their Christmas stuff.
Did you get your Kohl's cash?
That's my wife's thing. You know what I mean? Like, she's the one that she manages all the frequent flyer membership VIP nonsense. And anytime I go into a store and she's like, "Oh, make sure you use my number." And I'm like, You have an account at Ace Hardware? Like, when do you shop at Ace Hardware? Like, you know what I mean? So
is the account in the room with us right now?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So they still had some Christmas stuff, and obviously it was on deep discount. I found this baby.
Oh, is that
Look at that. Is it focusing?
No, it's not focusing. Oh, there we go. Is that an ornament?
It is an ornament. See,
nice.
There's a little place for a hookup here.
Nice.
It's not flat, like it's 3D.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
Isn't that sick?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the
Hallmark keepsakes.
I would put that in the top 10 greatest games of all time.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not a hot take. That's just, statement of
it's
reality.
Not. It's a very cold take, actually.
Yeah, everybody thinks that.
Everybody.
Honestly, though.
It's true. Everybody thinks it.
So, honestly, I don't know that I would say this definitively, but I might actually be a bigger fan of Halo Reach than Halo 3.
yeah,
There was a lot of really
I'm
cool
with you.
things that happened with Reach. Now, 3 was incredible and just had so much great stuff to it, but there was just a couple things that got added in Reach that were just so cool from a variety perspective, like the sprint
absolutely.
mechanic and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that was probably the best it got. Like,
yeah,
I remember. Like,
yeah, it was kind of
like
on a way down after that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not really a debate at all.
Well,
But
that's
anyway,
true. Yeah. Mario fell off a cliff.
head first with rocket shoes on.
Yeah.
So like it was in 3 that you had like the ones you could pick up, the little power things you could pick up and switch
Oh
them out,
yes,
and
like
not-
the shield drain or the bubble shield. Yeah, that stuff. Yeah.
But I felt like to an extent like it was kind of pointless because you only ended up using like 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like why would you pick up this thing when you've got this other one? So it's
Right.
like, well, you might as well just put it in a loadout and let me choose that one and just keep it.
Right.
So yeah, anyway. It's non sequitur.
We'll go back to that at the microtransactions section because we're going to be talking about video games. But I have a really great story. So yeah. The next kind of bullet point, from a let's evaluate our finances and figure out if that's something that's a point of stress for you, is to evaluate the actual variable cost of what impacts that it's having on your health, hidden health costs, maybe. So, for example, if you're stressing out about money, it's likely that your sleep's going to be suffering. And I know for me personally, sleep is one of the things. I have a weird relationship with sleep because I'm very good at staying asleep once I can fall asleep, but I am terrible at getting to sleep at any kind of a reasonable hour. I have tried for 20 years now to go to bed at a reasonable time, and in my mind, a reasonable time is like between 10 and 11. If I go to bed at 10 o'clock, if I can force myself to fall asleep, I will be up at 1 and not able to go back to sleep for at least 2 or 3 hours. I have no idea why, but whatever that is, I just cannot do it. So most of the time I end up staying up until about midnight to 1 o'clock every night. And I just, I fall asleep and I sleep till 8 and I'm good. But it's just one of those things. Yeah. I really don't know if, it's maybe there's some kind of sleep study I probably should check out or whatever. It's not like I feel like I'm stressed out and I don't really, it's not like I lay down and I'm like, oh, I've got so many things I've got to do. I got to do this. I'm not stressed out. I just lay down and I'm like, no, I'm not really tired. I guess I'm going to get up and go do something. I might as well, go, watch a movie or play a game or, get some work done.
Absolutely.
Especially, from a work perspective, because, working in quiet is a huge win for time that I have. So
it's a luxury and a premium when you work from home and you've got littles.
Exactly. So
I get that. That's why I get up so early,
Yeah. You got to set aside that time and it makes a big difference. Yeah. So
yeah. I guess for me, like I've never had troubles going to sleep and it's rare that I wake. I mean, I feel like since I've entered my 4th decade, I find myself waking up occasionally a little more than I used to.
4th decade, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds more eloquent.
Yeah. Is that French?
Touch on F. Kennedy pronounced it. So, yeah, my wife actually hates me for it too. Like she complains that I can just come to bed and be asleep within only a couple minutes. Which coincidentally, I did see something somewhere. I can't remember where it was. It was on the internet, so it must be true. That if you fall asleep too quickly, that means you're overtired. And I would like to say BS on that because my average sleep is about 6 hours a night, and I usually do pretty good.
Okay.
I mean, I usually have a white nectar of the gods, It's White Monster for those of you who aren't initiated. Around midday.
That is poison. Speaking of poison, would you like to sponsor us, Monster?
Please.
Yeah,
you're expensive.
As you can see, the V8 energy drink in my small refrigerator.
Yeah, that's a sick little refrigerator. I need to get one for my office.
Yeah. That was one of my Christmas presents from my in-laws.
Oh,
so, yeah.
That was nice. They're so nice.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, the next bullet point is if you're having any levels of anxiety or panic, I don't know about any of our listeners out there, but I have personally had an anxiety attack. I think I've only had them one, maybe two in my entire life. And I mean, it was at one of those, it was kind of a perfect storm of just being under a mountain of stress with, work and with, I think one of them happened pretty shortly before I got married. And it was not because of, being concerned about getting married, but just from a perspective of just the mountain of stuff that we had going on and we're dealing with and all that stuff. And then there was another time, it was in the middle of like tax season. And I had just been, not sleeping, working ridiculous numbers of hours and all that. And so it just
I remember those days.
Yeah. Like,
I remember like April would come and you'd just become vanished for a while.
Yep.
And then and
not see the sun.
Like, where's Clint? And it's like, what's tax season? Then like a few weeks later, like here he emerges.
Yeah.
We're like, bro, you okay? And you're just like,
yeah. Well, I hadn't seen the sun in like a month.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Gosh. I bet you don't miss those days.
Oh man, not even a little. Not even a little bit.
I feel like that's one thing that we kind of glamorize this idea of like working super hard when you're
and the
young.
Grind, yeah.
And grinding so that you can, be a little more, what's the word, well situated when you're older. But you know what? Having done jobs that were highly demanding, even when I was younger, I wonder, like, why did I sacrifice some of my best, like, youthful years for that?
Well, I've actually done a lot of introspective reflection on stuff like that. And honestly, I think for me, while I understand the concept of what you're saying, and I do agree with you to an extent. I think there's something about the psychological changes that you go through from about 25 till about the age of 40. Because I think I'm kind of coming up on the tail end of that. I'll be 40 in August. And I've started noticing... Yeah, so I've started noticing that significantly more in the last, maybe 2 years, but significantly more in the last year, where it's like, it's you think about it from a perspective of, well, look at all the stuff that I missed out on because I was, I worked at doing taxes for 5 years where I was, working between 80 and 100 hours a week and didn't get to see friends from January 1st until April 15 and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, look at all this stuff that I sacrificed. And the thing that I've thought about is while I realized in the time that it was, obviously it was a mountain of work and stressful and all that stuff. But beyond that, it was also what set me up to be able to do what I'm doing now. And I got so much experience, like from a how the world works perspective. Yeah, the how to do taxes obviously was a valuable skill set, but how to work when you're barely sleeping, or how to continue, trucking along in your job when somebody comes in and talks about how horrible you are at your job because you're working in a customer-facing career, and it's one of the careers that people hate already because Nobody wants to get their taxes done. It's one of those necessary evils of the world. And so they come in, they're already angry at you because they've got to be doing it. It's almost like being at the dentist. Yeah, I don't want to go to the dentist. And it has nothing to do with him. It's nothing personal against the dentist himself. But
right.
You know what I mean?
But at least a tax accountant's not poking inside your mouth. I don't like dentists.
They're not poking in your mouth, but they are poking in your bank account and about every other aspect of your personal life that you like. Oh, you got divorced this year. Oh, okay. Do you want to spend the next 2 hours doing a tax return interview because you got divorced on January 2nd, which means you were still legally married at the end of the year? So now you've got to be in a room because you have to file a return with your ex-spouse that you hate right now. That that's fun.
Ew.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think about the one-off situations, but those are the real fun ones. Hey, this situation already sucks. You want to have a lot of fun and be stuck in a room with them for 2 hours? Let's argue about which spouse gets to claim which dependent. Oh, you have college credits. Well, that person is getting them this year, so you got to argue about getting them next year.
Holy crap!
Yeah. It turns into a nightmare.
Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you have to play Dr. Phil?
Oh man. Fortunately enough, I didn't really. I think there was only one couple that I did that had anywhere close to that dynamic, and they were pretty good about it. But I was sitting. The office that I worked in was pretty small, and there was a few across the hallway in my boss's actual office that were a little bit more vocal about their unhappiness, So,
man,
yeah, but yeah. So
anyway,
so back to our topic. The anxiety and panic, depression, feelings of hopelessness. Those are going to be tied to that, and you want to get those dealt with quickly because obviously you don't want to be having a constant feeling of depression because of your financial situation, and I think that's something that's changed, at least for me personally. I'm significantly more open to talking about my finances. Like if you wanted to have a conversation where we literally laid out, this is how much money I'm making, this is where this money goes, and this is what I'm spending on this, and this is what I'm doing on this, I would have no problem at all doing that. And whether you would or not, I don't know. I'm sure based on how we've talked in the past, I would say you probably wouldn't have an issue with that. But
I know I make money. I don't know how much.
Right. And so from a perspective of our parents' generation, that was just unheard of. You don't talk about how much money you make. You don't talk to your the other people in your department like, oh, you're a senior accountant too. How much are you making? Wait, you're making $6,000 more a year than I am, and I've been here 5 years longer. What's going on here? I'm sure corporations don't really like you doing that, but in all honesty, that's one of the best ways to get a raise. Is say, look, hey, you're paying that guy way more than you're paying me, and I've been here longer. What's going on? Where's the loyalty?
Right.
And
so, depending on what kind of company it is too. If it's like a public-facing company, it's not like if it's a publicly funded company,
right? Yeah,
they have to post those things
exactly.
Like at the place where I work. I don't work for it's at a hospital. I work at a hospital, but I'm not an employee of the hospital.
Right.
My company contracts with the hospital. And the hospital, because they're nonprofit, they have to post all the numbers for the salaries. And I'm looking at some of these salaries going, it's a nonprofit, but some people are making a lot of profit out of this hospital, man.
That's one of the things that I have figured out significantly more recently is that just because it means the title is non-for-profit doesn't mean that there's not people making a boatload of money in that nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
looking at you, NGOs. Anyway,
yeah. So
trying to keep this neutral as possible.
Yeah, yeah. So, So next is to take a step back and realize that even smart people, no matter how smart you are, if your stress is through the roof and you've got all these, you're dealing with depression or anxiety or sleepless nights, you're going to make a bad decision with money if you've got all of these things weighing you down. So, talk to somebody. And I don't even know if this is actually a thing. Maybe it should be. I know Caleb Hammer is pretty popular on YouTube right now. And as far as I'm concerned, the work he is doing is incredible. I think he's making an enormous impact in the financial welfare industry, for people to be able to understand where they're at financially and to be able to have an outside looking in perspective, because I can go on YouTube and I could probably spend 2 hours going through his videos and find somebody that was almost, line for line a exact copy of my financial situation and learn from their mistakes and grow from there. And a lot of people would never take that into consideration, but it's incredible. So yeah, if you've never heard of Caleb Hammer, go check his stuff out. He's got some great financial reviews where he'll go and do a deep dive in somebody's personal finances and how much money they're making, how much money they're spending, and help them come up with the plan. Now you got to be if you're on the show, you got to be willing to actually improve your situation,
right?
But you don't get to skate by. And the interesting part to me, and I like that it's part of the show, is that he can be kind of a jerk to some of the people, but the reality is they're being kind of jerks back because they're acting like it's somebody else's fault that they're in the situation they're in.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like, I'll get into. I like where you're taking this because it's going to get into what I'm going to talk about and are going deep. But and I won't say I don't want to say the word, even though I am very close to. It's an E word. Anyway.
Erectile dysfunction.
Yes. Close.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if that's the case, going deep is not happening this week. So,
zing.
Yeah.
I've not watched Caleb's stuff because me, I don't care about the finances so much.
Yeah.
But like I have seen little clips and it's like, yeah, I get the kind of people that are on there, and I totally understand why they're there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And they make dumb money decisions, and they don't. For some reason, they have this external locus of what's the word I'm looking for? They have a tough time taking accountability for.
It's always this was not my fault. This just happened to me. But yeah,
nothing just happens.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just kind of keep that in mind. Just because you're super smart doesn't mean you can't make a bad decision, especially when you're, sleep deprived and you're feeling down and anxiety and all this other stuff. So, so just kind of keep that in mind, and then have yourself come up with some practical ways to reduce stress. So like I said, coming up with some kind of financial, counselor, so to speak, talk to somebody about it. Say, hey, look, I've been looking at this and I'm obviously too close to the situation. Let me figure out how to, have somebody outside looking in. Hey, where's some holes? Stuff like that. And if that's something you want, let me know. I'm more than happy to help out. I've done it with a handful of people, and it's once you know what you're doing, and especially from an outside looking in perspective, where I'm not emotionally vested in any of decisions that you're making. I'm just observing facts. It's very easy for, just like, with Caleb, it's not difficult to say, oh yeah, this is very obviously where your problem is. You spent $3,000 last month on DoorDash. How do you not know that that's what your problem is, But
spend half as much money on cooking lessons and save by making your own food.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's one thing. Make decisions smaller for yourself. Make fewer financial decisions per week. and make them smaller. So instead of getting to the end of the month, you're like, oh, I've got to make all of these decisions or the end of the year or whatever, whatever your situation is. I've got to do all this stuff at the same time. Take a step back and say, okay, I'm gonna start piecing this out, and I'm gonna make one decision today, and that's gonna be the best decision I can make, and go from there. And separate your information from your actions. And I know this is one that I suffer from when I make, we talked about a couple weeks ago when I bought my my new car. I got that Kia K5. I have looked at every vehicle on the planet that was in the vein of what kind of vehicle that I wanted. I wanted a 4-door coupe with not coupe, a 4-door sedan that got good gas mileage, but that also had a good drive to it, reasonably priced, enough space for, I'm not an enormous man by any stretch of the imagination. I'm about 6 foot tall, and so I wanted to have something that was, that had enough head space that I'm not hitting my head on the roof or anything like that, and right. All that, and I probably got stuck a little bit in the analyzing part and was focusing way too much on the fine print of a vehicle, and fortunately enough, the decision kind of got made for me because of the enormous amount of money that they knocked off, because they knocked off about $4,000 of the MSRP to sell me that vehicle, and I was like, oh yeah, you're gonna do that? It's hard to say no to that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, separate all of the information, and especially now with AI, there's so much information that you can get access to so quickly that you can flood your brain with too much. So, separate that from, okay, I know enough about this. Now I need to just narrow this down to one or two, or 2 or 3 options. We got it narrowed to that. Okay. What's the best one of these options, and then go from there. Obviously building some financial breathing room for yourself. We've talked about this in the past, kind of having the nest egg for yourself, setting aside $1,000, which for some people that may not sound like very much, and for other people that may sound like an enormous amount of money, but it's about creating a realistic goal for yourself of, I'm going to set aside this amount of money for an emergency fund. That way, if something does happen, I've got enough money set aside for it. And then, when you take all of these different actions into consideration, that's going to pull you back, and you're going to have a more all-encompassing view of your financial situation, rather than being so, tunnel vision on what the problem is, and you're seeing one of the 100 problems, when that may be the one that gives you the least bang for your buck to solve, So, that's kind of the bullet points for, let's get our financial mental health in a good place, and make sure that you feel okay enough with your finances that it's not causing you to lose sleep, because, once you get to that point, things are going to start getting real weird.
Seriously.
So, anyway, so that kind of is the meat and potatoes of our podcast this week, and now we're going to dive into our. I was playing around with a new title for this, and I'm going to call it "I Really Hate This Stuff." Why do people do this? So
today on I Really Hate This Stuff.
Yeah.
Why do people do this?
Yeah. So
can we make that an acronym?
Yeah. I'll have to figure that one out, because, like I said, I've been workshopping
this stuff.
So
why do people do this? Today on IRHTSWDPT. Yeah.
Yes. We'll have to come up with a better acronym for that one. Like SCUBA. Scuba Dooba.
Self-contained breathing apparatus?
I think it's underwater Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus.
I forgot the U. Dang it.
Yep. It's okay. It happens to the best of us.
You're right.
I forgot about you one time, too. How could I forget? Anyway, so today on our I Hate That is microtransactions. So we're looking at this specifically from the video game transactions perspective this time, but the reality is these microtransactions have, at least to some extent,
oh my gosh,
kind of permeated through society in an enormous way, and it's turned into everything's a subscription model, and you can upgrade your package with this. Oh, you want to do that this month? Oh, well, that's just $2, or here's $5, or and the thing that's crazy to me is
this
so
is
many
like
of these games, especially
package.
Do what?
Nothing.
Oh, so many of these games, like the price, when you look at how much, especially from our perspective, we grew up in the 90s playing video games that, you pay $60 and the game's yours. And honestly, like some of the times you pay $60 and you get a game that a glitch is just part of the game. I remember one of my favorite games of all time is Final Fantasy VII. And have you ever beaten Final Fantasy VII? Do you know about Do you know about the W item glitch?
No, I don't think I do.
Really? Okay, wow, so that's one of my favorite glitches that ever made it into a game. So in Final Fantasy VII, you get a materia called the W item materia. It's a yellow materia.
Like double item? Like is that what you mean?
So normally in battle you can use one item at a time. With the W item, you can use 2 items in the same turn. There's like a W summon ability, so where you can do 2 spells in the same turn, or 2 summons in the same turn.
I would always use that one with what's the one? Ultima?
Oh yeah, or Knights of the Round, or yeah, exactly. So the cool part about this was this W item. What it did was it essentially created a phantom item. So the first item that you use, it goes into this phantom window that's about to be used in battle, and then it takes you back into the item menu so you can use another item. So if you wanted to use a potion and an elixir, you could do that. Well, if you use the elixir first, go back into the screen where you're going to use your potion, but then cancel out of it. It puts that item back into your inventory without ever actually having used it. So you could have infinite elixirs or mega elixirs or any of those items in the game. And so it made farming the enemies at the end of the game significantly easier. There's one special enemy that you've got to give an elixir to be able to beat them. Well, now you have an unlimited source of elixirs because you could just fight until you run out and then go into one battle and just refill your inventory. And you could get 100 of them in one battle.
I think I vaguely remember this now that you're talking about it, but
yeah. But that is part of the original Final Fantasy VII game. Yeah, it's a feature, not a bug. Now obviously I don't believe they intended it to do that, but
no, probably not.
That made it into the live production game, and if I go pull out my PlayStation 1 and pop that in there, it will do that right now. And so, so to go from that where, games were finished when you got them to what it is now where you're getting updates because the game was basically not functioning when it was sold. It's full of glitches and all this other stuff. Now, some companies have made a pretty good model of actually fixing some of these games and turned it into I think No Man's Sky is a perfect example of something that was horrible at launch, and now it's one of the best games of all time. I think a lot of people would say.
Interesting.
So,
well, I feel like this is getting into some of the meta of it, like. A lot of the AAA studios got really addicted to this idea.
Oh,
that they could
over
push
the
out
place.
crap and then soak people for it later. And it does feel to me, it seems like more and more people are just kind of fed up with it, which is why the indie market has exploded, and you see a
Yep.
lot of great games coming from like new game
Yep.
studios, or game studios that are very small, because they have that passion and drive. Because if you're watching this show and you don't play a lot of video games, or that's not been a part of your life,
Yeah.
for at least I know for Clint and I and several of our friends, like a, a video game is a unique way of storytelling that gives
Yes.
you a certain amount of immersion, investment, and ability to play along, like role play, if you will,
Yep.
in that story that I don't know can be duplicated in any other form of
Nope.
media. Because, like, visual media like movies or comic books, you're an observer of what's going on.
Yep.
If you're reading a book, you have some investment because you're applying your own imagination to build
Right.
some of the visuals for these characters, unless you watch The Lord of the Rings first, and then anytime you read one of the books,
Yeah.
Aragorn
Yeah.
is
Viggo
Viggo
Mortensen. Yeah.
Mortensen. I
Yeah.
mean, like,
Exactly.
they're inseparable now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with video games, like, okay, sure, there's not as much room for imagination, but like when you're put in charge of a character, like,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that it's one of the things that really made me mad about Halo 4
Yeah.
was when you beat it on Legendary, and you get treated to that special cutscene at the
Yeah.
end, because they would be different, depending on
Yep.
the
The difficulty
So
level. Yeah. Exactly.
if you beat it on the highest difficulty
And
level,
they
you
were
got,
hard.
oh yeah, yeah, you got the really nice, like, you were supposed to get the best
The chef's
cutscene at
kiss.
the end of
Yep.
the credits,
Exactly.
yeah, for beating it on Legendary. And in was it in that one? I think it was in that
Yeah.
one. You get to see Master Chief take his helmet off, and you get to
Yes.
see his face. And I was just like, I was so mad. I was so
Yeah,
mad
there was a lot of people that were
because
mad about that because up until
yeah,
that point, you could almost like imagine yourself in that role,
well,
or
that was the
or
point.
whatever exactly.
That's the
It's
point. He is an
yeah,
everyman character. He is the
exactly
archetype everyman character, because he
right.
doesn't have those specific defining features that you see, a face and the eyes.
Yep,
You can put yourself into that
right.
character, so then you become much more immersed in the story, because it's not just this old balding white guy that you see on the screen. It's you, which
You're
in my
not
case
that
is old
old.
balding white guy.
Oh man, yeah. No, I totally understand what you're saying, and that's one of the things that the industry has changed so much.
Yeah, it
Obviously,
has.
with even just what you have available. And I mean, obviously, things like graphics are incredible. I mean, there's some games that come out now that it's hard to to differentiate between that and an actual movie because the
Yeah.
production value is so high. So now we're going to talk about why microtransactions have become so prevalent. And this is something that when I was doing the research for this, I keep setting myself up for failure, I guess, because I'm expecting these things to not be nearly as high as they actually are. We talked about Dragon Ball Z last week, and
Yeah.
that's a $30 billion IP. So I'm like, okay, yeah, that's incredible.
Just
That's got to be
freaking
blowing.
nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy that's made $30 billion. But the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And so
Yeah.
I pulled the top 5 highest revenue from microtransactions since microtransactions really became a thing.
It's gonna make me vomit, isn't
So
it?
we're gonna start at number 5. And I'm gonna see if you can. I'm gonna give you 3 guesses and see if you can guess before I actually list any of these 5, if you could guess which ones, any of the ones that would be on this list. So top 5, just 3 guesses. See if you can guess any of them.
Okay, well, Fortnite has got to be in there.
Amazingly enough, Fortnite is not on this list.
Not in the top 5?
Nope.
Wow.
I'm sure it's way up there. In fact, I bet I can find out.
Now, okay, but are we counting like individual games or like franchises? Because like,
so this is individual games that have microtransactions in them that have had the most since.
League of Legends or League of Losers.
Yes.
Don't.
No, sorry. No, League of Legends is not in this list.
What?
Yeah. And that's, so I think it needs to,
you're going to have to qualify this list a little more to narrow it down because like, I feel like League of Legends should have been number 1.
So the information that I was researching was based on what games had the most microtransaction revenue. Now, according to, so I actually looked up Fortnite as well. So Fortnite's total microtransaction revenue is $42 billion, which is significantly higher than any of the ones on this list. So this must be talking about some very specific types of microtransactions, and according to the information, it says because these titles you can point to explicit lifetime player spending that are reported publicly, this is the closest thing to microtransactions alone. So these are purely from microtransactions, whereas something like Fortnite or League of Legends, which League of Legends doesn't make sense to me either, because I would classify everything in League of Legends as microtransactions, because you're buying, skins.
Right, and it's a completely free game, so any money you put into it is basically a microtransaction, right?
Yeah. So I'll have to revisit some of these numbers, but
okay, because
this is based on information that is available specifically and only for microtransactions themselves. So it can't have sources of revenue from other things like advertisements, because like Fortnite, for example, I'm sure they're getting a significant amount of money from licensing and stuff like that.
So that's not like getting like skins of like Star Wars characters or when they're whatever crossover is not considered a microtransaction because there's a licensing deal.
That I don't know. That's the information I have doesn't say specifically. So like I said, I may have to do a little bit of evaluating of some of these numbers. Okay. Because obviously 42 billion is higher than anyone else on this list.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's more than the valuation of the Dragon Ball franchise.
Right. Obviously, yeah. So that's a significant amount of money. But the problem is, and this could be taking things like, what do they clear on a microtransaction? So, like, for example, if Fortnite sells a Marvel skin, they may have to pay a licensing fee on every time they sell that skin. So if they sell it for $1, it may be 75 cents that's going back to Marvel.
So then they're only counting that 25 cents as part of it?
Could be. I'll have to do. This says microtransactions is not counting all revenue. So ads, subscriptions, which that's one of the things that I think Fortnite is getting, is a significant amount of revenue from subscription models. So like, I'm going to pay $15 a month and get the in-game currency to buy this skin. So that may be where there's some whatever. And this is also biased towards mobile games, because those are easier to track because they're tracked through the iTunes store or the iPhone Store or Google Play. Like those numbers have to be published because they're published through those agencies. And the other problem is a lot of these numbers are coming from China, and that just makes things messier from a financial perspective, because good luck getting anything 100% clean out of China. So yeah.
Fair enough.
So limit this to purely mobile games.
Okay.
And this is only for microtransaction revenue alone. So non-subscription microtransactions.
Gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're
A lot of
we're talking
caveats.
more about mobile games.
Correct. So phone.
Raid. Shadow, whatever that everyone keeps vomiting at
that
me.
one's actually that one's not on the list. So there's one.
Well, that's probably because it's not that great of a game and nobody actually wants to play it. I want to say one of Hoyoverse's games has got to be on there, either Genshin or Wuthering.
So I was actually kind of surprised that Genshin. I would say Genshin Impact should be on this list, but I think
it went nuclear, man.
Yeah, especially in 2020 and 2021. I mean, it established a whole new precedent for mobile gaming. But it is not on the list. Now, I think part of that is because of the subscription model, because I think a lot of their money came from subscription model. And I also think that a lot of that their money came from China, and it's not as clean to talk about all that stuff. So
gosh, man, I'm at a loss now.
Yeah, this is the top 5 microtransaction style revenue.
Diablo Immortal?
No. I was actually pretty surprised that some of these
I'm striking out. So
Pokemon Go is number 5.
Oh, geez. Wow.
Yeah.
Color me surprised.
Obviously. 6 billion plus in microtransaction revenue since launch in 2016. Number 4 on the list is Monopoly Go. And that's since 2023. They have made 6 billion.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that one blew my mind. That Monopoly Go has made 6 billion in microtransaction revenue since its launch in 2023. So it is actually higher than Pokemon Go and has been out for barely 2.5 years. Yeah, incredible.
Wow.
Yep.
All right, wait. Now I'm thinking. Now maybe after you say those two, I'm starting to think on the right track. You gotta tell me. Candy Crush has got to be on that list.
It's not actually. I know Candy Crush has made a lot of money, but they are not in the billions range apparently, or at least not in the 6 billion plus. So number 3 is PUBG Mobile.
Gross.
Yeah.
Okay.
So number 2 is a game, and I'd never even heard of this game, called Honor of Kings or Arena of Valor. And that game launched in 2015.
Jeez.
Ran from 2015 until 2021, and it made 10 billion plus in microtransaction revenue.
It's not even running anymore?
Nope, not even running anymore.
Honor of Kings.
Yeah, I vaguely remember hearing or seeing an ad for something that sounds like that, but yeah, it phased out in 2021, so it's been.
Is that it? Is that it, Clint?
Actually, it might be.
It's still on the Play Store.
Oh, so maybe it is still going.
It's a MOBA.
Yes.
It's a League of Legends knockoff.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's skins. What was the other name you called it?
Arena of Valor, which I think is because it's called something different in China.
Well, it's okay. So Arena of Valor is a different app, but it looks very similar, and it's from the same developer.
Yeah. So maybe they're just rolling them into one umbrella. And then number 1 is a game called Monster Strike. Started in October of 2013 and is still going to this day. I am surprised at that, to say the least.
Monster Strike?
Monster Strike.
I've never heard of it.
It's apparently huge in Japan.
I'm not even seeing it on my app store.
Yeah. It's mainly in Japan.
Oh, wait. Search.
So yeah, I'm gonna do some better research for this next time and go into all games that have microtransactions. But as you can see right there, this is purely microtransaction only revenue. This is an enormous industry, and it's making a lot of these games continue to be funded for longer than they probably should be. I mean, for a game, 2013 until now, 13 years, and it's made $11 billion. Like that's incredible levels of volume. So anyway, if any of you are wondering why most of these games are just inundated with microtransactions, it's because these companies are making boatloads of money off of it. And actually,
because it works.
Yeah, it's a model that works. So if you want it to stop working, then tell all of your rich friends to stop dropping 50 grand on a video game. Because that's
mobile game.
On a mobile game, yeah. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit I've dropped, a couple $100 on a couple games in the time that they've been out, but nothing like I said, I would probably be more under the umbrella of a small dolphin than a mega whale. But I mean, I think I heard of another term. I can't remember what it was. Was it like a leviathan or something like that? And it's just somebody who spends like $10,000 a month or more on video games. Like it's just obnoxious.
Where did you get the money?
Yeah,
Like what?
I used to follow this guy on YouTube because he played a game that I played pretty regularly, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius.
I remember that game.
He used to post
you got me into it.
Yeah, we played that game for a little while, and he would post a video every week of him getting the newest character that got released, and they put this mechanic into the game where you had to get like 7 copies of a new character to get them maxed out as possible. And I would watch him post these videos and see the number of the in-game currency. I think they were like gems or crystals or something like that in-game. And he would have hundreds of thousands of these crystals every single week. So I just sat down and I was like, I wonder how much he's actually spending on this game. And I calculated it out. He spent over $130,000 since the game's launched on these crystals in-game in a matter of like a year. That was just what I could find in a year. And I found out, like, I had been following him for probably 2 or 3 years because the game went for a long time. I think it launched in like 2016 and it went till 2023 or 2024, and found out that he had actually been backdoor hacking the game and just apparently he accidentally posted a video of him doing it and just gave himself like 2 million of these crystals.
Oh my god.
And he got his account permanently banned, which
That's
obviously
hilarious.
he should have. But yeah, it was very comical that I thought he was dropping all his money and I found out that he was not spending any money at all. And I mean, when you're watching the guy, he's got, his setup where he's doing all the games and stuff like that. I'm like, how in the world is this guy dropping $130,000 in a year on this game? What does he do? Well, he's a hacker. So, yeah. That's
is it bad that part of me likes that happens to these companies?
No, just yeah. I think he should be banned from that platform. Like, when somebody does something like that, like, you don't get to be back in the game. It's not just this account; it's any account that you could possibly have. You're out. So
I'm with you, but it does, to an extent, to me, it feels a little bit like Robin Hood.
Yeah, to an extent. The problem is, like, a lot of these games are set up that have some kind of ranking system, and so he's able to stay in the number one spot for some of these rankings. He's getting in-game rewards taking away from other players. I'm like, okay, yeah, like you've been stealing these rewards the entire time the game's been going. Yeah, you don't need to be back in.
Okay, no. I'm good with him being banned. I'm just not upset that he was doing it in the first place.
Oh yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, if it wasn't for that, I'm like, yeah. I mean, he figured out a way to screw up your stupid system. So
yeah,
good for him.
Yeah,
it's not like y'all are still making a killing off of this.
Jeez.
But yeah, that reminded. So we were talking about Halo 4, and that reminded me of one of my favorite stories of all time. So I don't know if I've ever even told you this story. I probably have. When a friend of ours was I don't know if he was ever like officially nationally ranked, but he was one of the best Halo 3 players of all time. So me and Jordan, who we had on last week, his brother Aaron, we would always play 3-on-3 with against some other buddies of ours from college. And, it was Josh and Cameron and then Jeffrey. And I don't know if you ever met Jeffrey Jensen.
I don't think I have. No, I don't think
but
so.
yeah, so anyway, so we played against them three, and we always had some random third because, we didn't have as many people around here that played consistently. And a buddy of he was like a friend of Aaron's cousin. I think he was like 15 when we did this, and so we're in our mid-20s, and he's like 15. Anyway, he was incredible at Halo 3. We always played pretty neck and neck with them. So it was me and Aaron and then whoever our random third was. And it was always pretty close. We would win some and they would win some. But most of the time they were beating us pretty handily because they were used to playing with each other. I mean, in Halo 3 time, you always play split screen. So you're used to playing with the same group. You get consistent playing together. And that gives you a huge advantage in that game. Yeah. Well, his name was Chris. He comes over and he's like, "Yeah, I'll play with you guys, and I'll help you beat him because they got really they were talking a bunch of smack the last time that we played them, and I was like, okay, we're I'm just sick of getting beat all the time, and so we talked to him. He's like, yeah, I'm pretty good at Halo. Undersell of the year. This kid was lights out. This was I play basketball on Thursdays pretty regularly. I'm not going to say I'm an amazing basketball player. Obviously, I'm not in perfect shape or anything like that, but I know how to play basketball. This is like me playing 3v3 and Michael Jordan in his prime walking in the room. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to be on your team today."
Yeah.
It was incredible watching this. We started the match out and I thought he was cheating, but if I hadn't been sitting right next to him, I would have thought he was cheating. But he was literally plugged into our Xbox, so there's no way he was cheating. And
yeah.
he had a way of doing this jump crouch thing, and it looked like he was glitching through the air. But what he would do is he would jump, and then he would crouch while he was jumped. And the only way he could do that is because he changed the button layout to use I think he was using some kind of special button layout that I never even knew you could change to. And so he would jump through the air, and it's normally you're trying to give him headshots. Well, it's impossible to do when their head's going like this. And so we played 3 games. He beat the crap out of them by himself. Me and Aaron were trying to find them, and by the time we could get over close enough to even help him, they were all 3 dead. I mean, he would kill them and then turn around and toss a grenade, and it lands on their head as they spawned because he had the spawning mechanism memorized.
Oh my gosh.
So the first game was like 50-4. and,
Oh my
and I
god.
remember them very specifically because, back in these days, for those of you who are unaware, Halo used to have proximity vocals. So whenever you got close to a character, even if they, or like a person, if they died, you could still hear them talking and hear them screaming and yelling and all this other stuff. And that was just part of the fun. Is you go over there and talk smack after you kill them.
Yeah,
And,
those are good times.
and
Teabag 'em.
I remember us being on one side of the map, and we looked across, and we saw him jump over a wall that I was completely unaware that you could even jump over. He jumped over them and killed all three of them in a matter of 2 seconds. And we ran over there at the time because we were trying to help, and obviously we didn't even get there in time to help and get up there, and they're all three dead in the same spot, just yelling about how angry they were about the fact that they were getting just destroyed. And they kept, so we get done and they're like, he's cheating, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, he's not. Like, he's on our Xbox. Like, he's not cheating, I promise. And so we do one more game, and they got a little bit better that game. I think they ended up like 50-9, but yeah, he like, it was just me and Aaron basically just like, okay, we're going to stay together and make sure that we don't die. Oh, man.
Those,
it was just
4 deaths were you and Aaron.
Yeah, that was just one of my, most hilarious, because they were like, after that game, they literally left and didn't say anything to us. And I was like, okay, look, like, y'all have been talking so much trash. Okay, now that the shoe's on the other foot, so on and so forth. And it was just so funny because there was levels of rage coming from them that I didn't even know they were capable of.
Wow.
And it was so funny because me and Aaron are just sitting there laughing uncontrollably at this whole thing. So yeah, just, memories playing Halo 3. But
good times.
But yeah, anyway, so that was just something I wanted to share before we do our going deep with Dick. So Dick has told me that he has some good stuff for our going deep segment.
Yeah.
So take it away.
Let's go deep tonight, and I want to talk a little bit about something that was on my mind.
You were always on my mind.
And we'll get into a little more serious segment of our show here.
Like a candle in the wind.
Like a candle in the wind.
That's Dick's favorite song, if anybody didn't know.
So no, my favorite song is "Toxic" by Britney Spears. But let's not open that. Let's not open that rabbit's hole.
You're not wrong.
Yeah, I tell you what. You know what the problem is I have been watching too much YouTube lately, and when you get into watching some of these things, and then you just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where sometimes I just have to unsub from a whole bunch of channels and not watch any of them.
Yeah.
But so today, the last couple of days, I've been thinking about a word, and the word is entitlement.
Oh, I was way off. Erectile dysfunction wasn't even close.
I mean, yeah, you're right. It's not that close.
Yeah, entitlement. Okay, let's talk about entitlement.
Yeah, let's unpack that. So, what is entitlement? And of course, like, I want to get a objective baseline here. So I went to the dictionary, obviously. And
Dick's dictionary.
Dick's dictionary, my very own. It claims. Oh, I shouldn't use that word. Says that entitlement is a right, a claim, a due. Sorry, I couldn't read my handwriting. A due, license, permission, privilege, or prerogative.
Wait, okay, say that again.
Entitlement. An entitlement is a right, a claim, a due, a license, a permission, privilege, or prerogative. So those are like synonyms.
Okay. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like that. Those are synonyms for entitlement. Entitlements are often given to you by various entities, um,
Ah.
like government entities or civil authorities, or
Okay.
if you're living with your parents, maybe your parents
Oh.
give you some entitlements. So,
Breath.
okay, so let's talk about what are some what are some examples of entitlement? And maybe it's just the context I was thinking of it, but um, you know, what's a good word? What's a good example of an entitlement with this definition? Um, and to me, it's like, well, it's something that I get access to as like perhaps like a resource that maybe I haven't necessarily worked for.
All right.
So, like, what's an example of an entitlement? Like,
Okay.
an entitlement is like, okay, it's something that's typically given or awarded to you
Yeah.
that maybe you didn't necessarily work for or earn, right?
Okay.
Because I mean, I feel like there's a big difference there. Like, um, if you think about, how you worked for something, you put in time, you put in money, your own money into it, you have an ownership of it because you helped create or helped to
Okay.
bring that about.
Right.
But like
You
entitlements,
have a
not
buy-in.
necessarily. Yeah, you got to buy. The entitlements aren't necessarily the same. I think there can be some overlap there, but a lot of times entitlements are something that is handed out to you, something that is
Okay.
given to you. And one of the things that I see, particularly, and this gets back to kind of that Caleb Hammer thing. We were talking about how people have this disconnection with their decisions. Is we have a culture, a society that has an attitude of entitlement, like we're all owed something for existing.
Right.
And what that does is that tends to get people to dissociate with consequences for their own actions or decisions.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think one of the reasons I think is important to talk about that is because that is for us men that's emasculating. It is in a word to use a hot button topic word. It's enslaving.
Okay. Yeah.
When you take on an entitlement mindset and when you are relying on someone or something else to grant you the ability to do certain things.
Yeah.
And obviously, like our Constitution, and I'm trying to keep this as neutral as possible. Our Constitution gives or protects certain, I would say, entitlements
Yeah.
that
The Bill of
we
Rights.
wow, the Bill of Rights there. There's a certain amount of entitlements that we are owed not owed from the government. The government owes us to protect
Right.
because of basic humanity. But there's a lot of other, entitlements that people get very mixed up in that honestly they don't have really any right to at all.
Yeah. Yep.
So tonight and whenever you're watching this video, I think it's important to take some reflective time and say, well, what are the things that I have entitlement about, and what can you do to not just be entitled, but take responsibility and claim ownership instead? Because
Okay.
ultimately, taking personal responsibility, like for your finances,
Yep.
and owning your mistakes, or I should say, owning your decisions, whether good or bad, in the end, actually puts you on a path towards freedom. Because if you're always looking at
Freedom.
someone else or something else to disperse those permissions or privileges, then you're always at the mercy of someone else. But when you take responsibility and you take accountability for your actions, your decisions, you can find freedom through personal growth. And I believe also be much happier with your life. Find contentment.
Yep. That is incredibly insightful, and honestly, it's very true. From a perspective that I think we've talked about this a little bit in weeks past, that getting fulfillment from things, you have to have buy-in into that thing, and you're not going to get fulfillment just from like you're talking about, having entitlement about that thing. So whether that is a protected right or not, having buy-in to that is going to make a huge difference in your level of fulfillment from that thing. So I completely agree. There seems to be a lot of entitlement across the board anymore, and from a personal perspective, I try not to get hung up and stuck on things that I believe I'm owed. That's part of being a small business owner, and working for myself. I'm only responsible for what I do, and I only get what I'm able to earn for my business. And so there's a lot of people that get kind of lost in the, well, I did this work, so you owe it to me to give me that bonus, or give me this raise, or give me that contract, or whatever else. And the reality is while it is easy to fall into that, and I totally understand that, because I'll be the first to admit I've probably had that thought multiple times in my life myself. If you believe that and then you're not getting that as a result, then maybe you don't necessarily deserve that. And if you do, you may have to look at a different way of getting it. Because I know that was kind of one of the struggles that I had with deciding to move on to a career where I was self-employed, where I had been working for some for a pretty good sized corporation for a while, and I did a couple big projects and thought that what I had done had warranted a raise in some capacity, and they disagreed, and I realized that I didn't care that they disagreed, and decided that if you're not going to give me the raise, then I'll go find the raise somewhere else. And in doing so, I've started a business that I'm significantly happier working for. It allows me time to be with my kids more, and my wife more, and to enjoy the growth that I get from my own work, rather than kind of seeing that passed on to somebody else and they get the benefit of it, and all that stuff. So yeah,
I think,
Go ahead.
As I say, I think you make a good distinction there, because that was one of the things I was just thinking about was your story about your previous employment, how you put in a lot of work there, like you earned something, and you had a disagreement about the worth of your work and your ability to contribute with the company you were working for, and I would say, they didn't owe it to you. Would it have been in their best interest? Yeah, probably. Like, you definitely earned it, but they didn't owe it to you. So you, understanding your worth and realizing they don't owe it to me, I will go out and make it on my own. I will go and, use this worth that I know I have to create, a greater wealth or stability for my family. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, they want to get so upset about, not getting the raise they thought that they were owed.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then go and do it better somewhere else.
Exactly.
Like,
if somebody doesn't see your value, go find somebody who does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're out there, There's going to be people that do not, and I think something that that I've kind of just started realizing more recently is that I don't think that there's a lot of intention behind people doing this thing. I think, and it's not necessarily evil, if that's the right word for it, that people are looking out for themselves. So if what you view as value to yourself is contrary to what your boss views as value for them, it makes sense for them to make the decision that's going to be more valuable for them in their path, in their career, in their growth trajectory, in their compensation, all of that stuff. So if they're not seeing the value for you, go find somebody who does see the value, because they're out there. You just got to connect the dots with the right person or people or business or, et cetera, whatever, fill in the gaps.
I agree. So, lesson today. Don't be entitled. No one owes you shit.
Yeah.
Go out there and make it.
Exactly. Yeah. Go make your own shit. Or buy your own shit.
That too.
Yeah. But yeah. Well, that was a good one. I like that. So yeah, just don't try to force yourself to feel entitled. If somebody doesn't see your value, find somebody who does. And then you're going to get more fulfillment and more happiness because you're getting paid what you're worth. And also kind of keep in mind, because this is where I think a lot of people get hung up, is they think they're worth something. If the market does not see that value and you're looking multiple spots, then maybe you're not worth what you think you are. And if that's the case, don't let that stop you. Make yourself have more value. Go acquire more skill sets. Take a class. Get a certificate. There's a lot of things that are available out there that people just don't even understand is an option. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they went and got it's like a Google ad certification or something like that, and it's like a weekend course. I mean, it takes no more than probably 8 hours, absolute tops, to complete this course. And you get this, and you have a certificate from Google. And somebody posted a thing on YouTube. They're like, yeah, I got this certificate and got a $7 an hour raise because I have this certificate, and went and got a job that needed that certificate. I'm in a job that I like better. I've got a skill set that I enjoy doing more. And so, okay, you got a huge raise just by doing a weekend course. So find more value and provide that value to the right person. And that may not be with the job you're in. You may have to find something else. But yeah, it's about connecting the right dots just as much as being valuable. So yeah, I think that wraps us up for this week. Just to kind of give y'all a recap, from a financial mental health perspective, find somebody to talk about your finances with. Do some evaluating, and don't let it stress you out to the point where you're having panic attacks because the bills are not paid the way you want them. We've talked about this in the past. Create small wins for yourself, and that's going to help you out. And microtransactions are a thing for a reason, and it's a huge reason. Because if I thought adding microtransactions to my business model would generate me $11 billion this year, yeah, I'm all about that.
That's fair. That is fair.
Yeah, I'll let half the population give me 50 cents a piece, and I'm good. Yeah. So yeah, and then don't fall for the entitlement trap. Go out there and make yourself valuable. Don't believe you're valuable because you're who you are. Believe you're valuable because of what you can do. So yeah. I guess that's the end of it for this week. So, do you have any final thoughts? Go Go Broncos.
No. I can't believe that I'm. My choices are New England and Denver. What the crap?
Yeah.
New England and Denver are my choices. Or I could go NFC and say, go see chickens.
Yeah. The reality is, I've always been, a Broncos fan if I had to pick a team. But the reality is, I don't really care much to watch football. I watch the Super Bowl most of the time just to watch the commercials, but they've been so bad for the past few years. I could care less. But I found out that the quarterback for the Broncos broke his ankle in the last play of the game, so I'm like, they're not going to make it to the Super Bowl.
No, they're not.
There's no way. I mean, if they did that, they're going to have a big problem next year trying to figure out which quarterback to keep.
Yeah. It kind of. It sucks.
Yeah,
because the Bo Nix is really he's done a really good job.
Yeah.
So that sucks, but hey, it is what it is. It happens. It happens.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah. So anyway, well, see everybody next week. Thank you for stopping by, and keep on keeping on.